Alright, let's go over the vocabulary for the March 6th story. This is your evidence. The first word is minister. Minister can be both a verb and a noun. As a noun, it is that a man who preaches the church's beliefs. So, at our church, we have lots of ministers. And this weekend, you have 2 ministers that came to the church in Taiwan, both Dan and Mike. So, anyone who is a church and preaches the church's beliefs is a minister. That's the noun. And the action of preaching can also be called ministering, or to provide ministry. Carl waited for the minister to finish ministering to the people before he stood to lead the choir. Our next word is tongues. Tongues is a noun, and I do have an S on this. Okay, this right here, that is your tongue. But this is something different. Tongues. It's the plural form, but it means to speak in a different language with God's help. Not usually a language others know. So I can speak a little Chinese, and I can speak some Spanish and French and German and some other languages. That I have learned by myself. But sometimes there's like a heavenly language. And with God's help, some ministers can speak in that heavenly language that other people don't understand. And so that's what they're doing. They're speaking in tongues. Okay? So, as Harry was preaching at church, God led him to speak in tongues. And Gary gave the interpretation. Alright, our next word is interpretation. Interpretation. It's a noun. When someone gives the meaning to words spoken in tongues. So, first, someone will speak in tongues. Then next, someone will interpret it. They will tell what the meaning of what was spoken, so that we understand what was spoken in tongues. Here's the thing. If someone speaks in tongues and there is no interpretation, you will know that this is not from God. Some people can kind of try to pretend that they're speaking in tongues. But this is how you know. If there's no interpretation, this is not from God. So, God will always provide an interpretation if someone speaks in tongues. Everyone waited to hear the interpretation to the message they had just heard spoken in tongues. Alright, our next word is resist. Resist. Resist is a verb. It means to hold back from doing something. Try and stop, or it means that you try and stop an event from happening. So, you're resistant means that you don't want to do something. You're and you try to resist doing it. So here's my sentence will show you a kind of a fun way. There's also the political way where the police can get involved, or this one's just a silly way. Carrie tried to avoid eating the cookie, but she couldn't resist any longer. It looked so good. So if you see a piece of cake or a cookie or something and it sits right there and you're, oh, that looks really good, you try to resist eating it because you're so full, or it's really unhealthy. But finally she goes, I can't resist anymore, and you eat the cookie. So to resist is to hold back from doing something. Our next word is petition. Petition. It's a noun. When someone is asking or begging you to do something, we can also sign a petition. So you can petition someone. That would be more of a verb. But to have a piece of paper and you want a bunch of people to sign their names saying that they agree to something, that means it's a petition. You're trying to get something changed, or you can petition the government to do something, but the actual paper is a petition. The act of asking somebody for something is a verb. to petition. The girl petitioned the teacher for more time to finish her project. Next, briefly. Briefly. That's an adverb. It means for a short time, a time that passes quickly. Our sentence is, he thought about the girl briefly, but he stopped because he needed to focus on his studies. So, just for a short time. Alright, next is congregation. Congregation. Congregation is a noun. It means a group of people who have gathered together or congregated to do something. We use this word to describe the people that gathered at church or about the whole church in general. So I wrote a sentence that you can relate to about me. Monica attends the congregation of South Chrysler Restoration Branch. And every Sunday she goes to church to listen to the minister preach in front of the congregation. So my group of people that I go to church with is my congregation. And that church in general is called South Chrysler Restoration Branch. But the people, when we're sitting together, that have all gathered together to hear the minister, we are the congregation. It's similar. It basically means the same thing. But we can use it kind of to mean our church or the people that are at church. It's okay. If you don't understand. It's the same kind of thing. But it doesn't have to just be with church. So a congregation is just a big group of people who have gathered together for something. Okay? Our last word is evidence. Evidence. It's a noun. It means proof that something is true. It can be an object or words. So, the police needed evidence to show that the bad man really did steal the money. So evidence could be someone is saying something, and when you hear that, like when the little boy, the 12-year-old said, this is your evidence. He interpreted the speaking in tongues. And so that was evidence or proof to Sven that God had heard him and that this was a true church. So it can be words. It also can be something. I can have this pencil is evidence of, I don't know, it can be evidence of some crime or something. So it can be an object or it can be something that someone says. It's evidence. So, alright, those are all the words for today for our vocabulary. Please read through them again and then write your sentences. Thank you. Have a good day.